In 1930, in the new street of Kinmen, Taiwan Province, a girl named Zhu Xiuhua was born. From the age of 15, she observed vegetarian fasts and worshipped Buddha, leading a tranquil and peaceful life. However, when she turned 18, the Kinmen artillery battle erupted in Taiwan. Her entire family fled by ship, but tragically, their vessel was struck by artillery fire. In the chaos of escape, she became separated from her parents and found herself adrift at sea for 3 days, eventually washing ashore on Haifeng Island in Taixi Township. Desperately seeking help from a local fisherman, but her diminutive stature and the abundance of gold jewelry she wore aroused his malevolent intentions. He stripped all of her valuables and strangled her, then cast her back into the sea. After death, the young girl's spirit drifted to the Anxi Temple in Wutiao Port, Taixi Township, where she tearfully beseeched the local guardian deities, the Wangyao, Zhang, Li, and Mo. These divine beings, recognizing that her life was not meant to conclude so abruptly, granted her permission to be resurrected. At this point, you might be pondering, Amanda, what are you talking about? Do you take me for a fool? To be honest, I harbor similar doubts upon my initial encounter with this story. However, I implore you to patiently attend to the remainder of this account, for it has the potential to profoundly shake your concept of life itself. If this story piques your interest, welcome to give me a like and subscribe. Every Saturday evening, real Asian horror stories will meet you here. In 1958, a man from Taiwan named Wu Qiude was dispatched to Haifeng Island for construction work. His demanding schedule really allowed him to return home. Actually, this was due to his wife's frail health. Each time he returned, she fell ill. The frequency of his visits seemed to correlate with the severity of her condition, though her ailment appeared to be more psychological than physiological. Eventually, he opted to minimize his visits home. Concurrently, during his tenure on Haifeng Island, construction workers began to notice a young woman consistently in Wu Qiude's company. Initially, people merely marveled at how the seemingly honest and simple Wu Qiude could maintain the mysteries, and they playfully teased him about it during work hours. Wu Qiude, bewildered, vehemently denied these allegations. However, the rumors intensified as an increasing number of workers on site claimed to have witnessed him accompanied by a young girl. Wu Qiude felt unjustly accused but dismissed it as mere boredom-induced mischief from the construction site, choosing to disregard the matter. In 1959, when the construction project completed, Wu Qiude finally returned home. But as soon as he stepped into the house, his wife, Lin Wangyao, suddenly lost consciousness. Panicked, Wu Qiude rushed her to the hospital, but due to the severity of her condition, Lin Wangyao was pronounced dead. The family was devastated, and Wu Qiude proceeded to arrange her funeral. However, on the third day of the week, Lin Wangyao, whose body had long since grown cold in the coffin, abruptly sat up and calmly stated, "My name is Zhu Xiuhua. I have been resurrected through Lin Wangyao's body." The witnesses to this event were struck down with shock. Initially, people were skeptical, assuming Lin Wangyao had merely been in a state of suspended animation and had now awakened, as similar incidents had occurred before. However, they soon noticed that Lin Wangyao's accent had changed. Her original Lugang accent had been replaced by a Kinmen accent. What's even more amazing was Lin Wangyao, who had been frail and immobile before her death and was in her 40s, now leaped nimbly from the coffin, her posture and gait reminiscent of an 18-year-old girl. Later, people were further astonished to discover that Lin Wangyao had indeed become an entirely different person. Previously illiterate, she could now write and calculate and spoke fluent Mandarin. Once fond of fish, she now abstained from all meat, even eating separately from the family. This frail woman, who had been sickly and confined to household chores, was now in perfect health, capable of heavy labor, but had lost her culinary skills. This incident caused a significant stir, attracting numerous parapsychologists who sought to either debunk the story or validate the concept of soul transmigration. During interviews, Zhu Xiuhua explained, "As directed by the deities, my predestined lifespan had not yet concluded. Wu Qiude's wife, Lin Wangyao of Mailiao Township, was gravely ill and near death. I was permitted to inhabit her corpse for resurrection. Fortuitously, I encountered Wu Qiude when he came to Wutiao Port for a construction project, allowing me to interact with him. After the completion of his project, I followed him back to his hometown, awaiting an opportunity. When Lin Wangyao's condition became critical and her soul departed, I seized the chance to inhabit her body." Reflecting on her new life, Zhu Xiuhua added, "Everything is reasonably comfortable, though inhabiting another's body feels somewhat unnatural. I feel estranged from the family and neighbors, but fortunately, Mr. Wu treats me well, allowing me to live peacefully. For the husband, Wu Qiude, the situation evoked a complex mix of emotions. To avoid incessant interviews, he eventually relocated with Zhu Xiuhua, who now inhabited his wife's body, to a rural area of Taiwan. After over a decade away from public scrutiny, a persistent journalist finally managed to contact Wu Qiude, hoping to uncover more details about this extraordinary case. Mr. Wu sat in the living room, lit a cigarette, and gazed intently at a photo of the couple on the desk. He sighed deeply and said, "My wife was originally Lin Wangyao, but she claimed to be Zhu Xiuhua. Her voice is completely different from my wife's. Initially, I couldn't believe it, but later I had to accept that my wife was indeed no longer her former self. I never imagined such a thing could happen in this world, let alone in our own family. Actually, I sensed something was amiss from the beginning, but didn't pay much attention. At that time, I was still working on the construction in Haifeng Island. My coworkers teased me about having an affair, but it was entirely baseless. However, every time I cycled home from Haifeng Island, I felt a heavy weight on my shoulders. I thought it was due to the bumpy road, so I never paid it much mind. Later, I realized it was probably because the girl from Kinmen always sat behind me on my bicycle when I returned home. Many construction projects on Haifeng Island have been undertaken before, but previous contractors either lost money or had workers injured on site. However, when I took on this project, not only did we make a profit, but all the workers remained safe. Perhaps Zhu Xiuhua's spirit was quietly protecting us. Many people accuse me of seeking publicity, but I have never accepted a penny for interviews. In fact, I've spent quite a bit on tea and cigarettes to entertain visitors. Moreover, given my comfortable financial situation, there's no need for me to seek attention in this manner." Later, Zhu Xiuhua's nephew also agreed to an interview. "I initially didn't believe such things could happen. When my aunt was ill, my uncle and I were constantly taking care of her by her side. But sometimes she would say things we couldn't understand at all, then sat up in bed wanting to leave. We tried to hold her back, but she would push us away with incredible strength. We couldn't restrain her at all. This was completely illogical, as my aunt had always been such a frail woman. When we learned that my aunt's soul had been replaced by another person, we didn't know what to do. She was still my aunt after all, so we just let her recuperate. At first, she seemed uncomfortable with everything. For instance, when my uncle called her Ah Wang, she would say, "My name is Xiuhua, not Ah Wang." When her sister and mother came to visit, she didn't recognize them at all, saying, "I don't know you. Who are you?" If she couldn't recognize her own families, of course she wouldn't recognize our neighbors either. The nephew also mentioned that when Zhu Xiuhua first revived, her friends often visited. Before their visiting, she would set out stools and cigarettes for them. We couldn't see her friends, but we could see the stool being depressed as if someone was sitting on them. And the lit cigarettes burned faster than usual, as if someone was actually smoking them. Initially, Zhu Xiuhua chatted and laughed with his friends, but later, perhaps fearing others would be scared, she stopped allowing these friends to visit. Later, Zhu Xiuhua herself met with the reporter. She wasn't happy, but silently wept on the side. Perhaps the reporter's presence had stirred up painful memories. After composing herself, Zhu Xiuhua haltingly explained that she was Zhu Xiuhua, who at 18 had fled by boat to escape war, later encountered artillery fire, and drifted alone at sea. She eventually washed up on an island in Taixi Township and met a fisherman. She said, "Please save my life. I'm willing to be your wife or servant, and I can give you all the gold I have." It was this statement that aroused the fisherman's greed, leading him to kill her and steal her gold, leaving her body to drift at sea. Zhu Xiuhua also explained that she had been a devout Buddhist since childhood, performing rituals morning and evening and maintaining a vegetarian diet. She believed this might be the reason she was able to get help from the deity and return to the world of the living. After extensive inquiries, the reporter learned that the fisherman who had killed Zhu Xiuhua didn't fare well either. His family members passed away one after another, leaving only the mentally ill child. The reporter once brought this child to see Zhu Xiuhua, but before they could enter, Zhu Xiuhua cried out angrily, "Hasn't your family caused me enough suffering? How dare you come to upset me now?" This incident made her resurrection even more convincing, as no one had informed Zhu Xiuhua about this beforehand, yet she accurately identified the mentally ill person as the fisherman's descendant. On May 23, 2018, Zhu Xiuhua passed away at the age of 97. According to her husband, in her final moments, she kept muttering, "It's time, I have to go back." Thus, the curtain fell on this extraordinary woman's life. Perhaps Zhu Xiuhua was not destined to die so young, or perhaps her death was so tragic that even heaven couldn't bear to let such an innocent girl perish in the deep sea, and so granted her a chance to be reborn, giving her a second life. Actually, this is not the only reincarnation cases in China. In Pingyang, Hunan Province, there's a well-known village dubbed the Reincarnation Village. According to statistics, over 110 villagers in Pingyang Township possess memories of their past lives and can even locate their previous families based on these memories. More remarkably, these villagers all died unnaturally in their previous lives, some from drowning, others from snake bites, leaving their families in great sorrow. Most of them would reincarnate back into their own families, albeit with different identities, and these memories typically resurfaced when they started learning to speak at around 2 or 3 years old. To date, local authorities have been protecting this village. Numerous experts have visited, yet they still cannot explain this phenomenon. This phenomenon first appeared with an elderly woman named Shi Shuangren. She recalled that in 1962, when she was a 2-year-old child, she accidentally fell down the stairs. Subsequently, she acquired many memories that weren't her own. The owner of these memories was named Yao Jiaan, born in 1936, and died accidentally at 24. Before death, she lived with her mother-in-law, husband, and her son named Wu Qing. Later, it was confirmed that a woman named Yao Jiaan had indeed lived in Pingyang Township and passed away in 1960. The timing aligns perfectly. Yao Jiaan's death coincided with Shi Shuangren's birth. However, at that time, the concept of reincarnation wasn't prevalent in Pingyang Township, so when Shi Shuangren told her parents, they dismissed it as childish babble. It wasn't until Shi Shuangren reached adulthood and her father passed away that she publicly shared this information in the township. Her former son, Wu Qing, immediately sought her out. Remarkably, in Wu Qing's presence, Shi Shuangren revealed more details, such as how Yao Jiaan died from a snake bite, the date of her marriage, her dowry, details of her married life, and even her mother-in-law's habits. These revelations deeply moved Wu Qing, who became convinced that Shi Shuangren was indeed his mother. He began calling her mom when they met in the township and even performed his nursing duty. As Shi Shuangren and Wu Qing's story spread in Pingyang Township, He Zina, a daughter from He family living near Shi Shuangren, also became known as a reincarnated person. According to He Zina's father, He Bin, when his daughter was 2 years old, she suddenly called him brother one day. He Bin initially thought she had misspoken as she was just learning to talk, but her next words stunned him. Brother, I'm He Qing, your sister. This truly shocked He Bin because he indeed had a sister named He Qing who had drowned, but she died before He Zina was born, so there was no way she could have known about this. Later, He Zina not only led He Bin to the place where He Qing had gone swimming, but also described what clothes he had been wearing. Her earnestness convinced He Bin that she was indeed his sister's reincarnation. Subsequently, the number of reincarnated individuals in Pingyang Township grew, eventually reaching 110. This unusual concentration of reincarnated people attracted social attention, prompting many experts and scholars to conduct on-site investigations. They employed methods such as hypnosis and lie detectors to verify the claims, but invariably, the results show that these individuals were not lying. Some experts believe that the high number of reincarnated individuals in Pingyang Township might be related to Dong culture, as the local religious atmosphere is very strong, with each household worshipping spirits. Additionally, the Dong people believe in the concept of an immortal soul that directly reincarnates after death, which could explain the concentration of reincarnated individuals here. Other experts suspected that Pingyang's reincarnation village might be seeking attention, arguing that a comprehensive investigation involving sociologists, folklorists, psychologists, and other disciplinary experts is necessary to find answers. However, to date, experts have not reached a conclusion. This very mystery has attracted many tourists, turning Pingyang Township into a popular tourist destination. Many amateur paranormal enthusiasts come here to interview the reincarnated individuals, and perhaps in the near future, the truth about these reincarnated people will be unveiled. The strong religious atmosphere reminds me of a movie or anime I once saw, which portrayed a place where a god existed, but this god was created by humans. What does this mean? Initially, only one person believed in this God's existence and explained it to others. As more people believed, their collective spiritual power actually created this God, making it a tangible entity. So is it possible that because there are so many religious people in Pingyang Township, they've created a unique model of reincarnated system? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. Okay, that's all for this video. I've always been intrigued by the concept of reincarnation, feeling that it might alleviate our innate fear of death. In the next video, I'll be covering a criminal case, so let's meet again next Saturday night. Bye bye.